Have you ever felt like everything around you is falling apart, yet something deep inside you refuses to give up? Like doors keep closing, people keep leaving, plans keep failing, but somehow you are still standing. Let me tell you something powerful. Sometimes the very struggles you're crying about are actually signs that God is helping you. One of the most confusing moments in life is when everything you worked so hard to build suddenly begins to fall apart. The job you prayed for disappears. The relationship you trusted breaks. The plans you carefully created collapse right in front of you. In those moments, it feels like failure. It feels like life is moving backwards. You start asking yourself painful questions. What did I do wrong? Why is this happening to me? Where is God in all of this? But here is the truth many people don't understand at first. Sometimes what feels like destruction is actually divine redirection. Think about it. A builder cannot create a stronger building on a weak foundation. Before something greater can be built, the old structure sometimes has to be removed. In the same way, God often allows certain things in our lives to fall apart because they cannot support the future He has planned for us. What you thought was your final destination might only have been a temporary stop on the journey. There are countless real-life stories of people who experience this. Someone loses a job they believed was their security, only to later discover a new opportunity that changes their entire life. A relationship ends painfully, but months later they realize that the person who left was actually blocking their growth. At the moment it happens, it feels unbearable. But with time, the picture becomes clearer. God sees the full story while we only see the current chapter. When something breaks in your life, it does not always mean you are being punished. Sometimes it means you are being protected. Sometimes it means God is removing what is comfortable so He can give you what is truly meant for you. The difficult part is trusting the process when you don't yet understand it. Anyone can believe when everything is going well. But real faith appears when life stops making sense, when doors close, when people walk away, when the plan you had completely disappears. So if things in your life feel like they are falling apart right now, don't rush to call it the end. It may actually be the beginning of something far greater than you ever imagined. What looks like chaos today may be God clearing the path for the purpose that is waiting ahead of you. Sometimes things fall apart not to break you, but to rebuild you stronger than before. There comes a moment in many people's lives when the things that once felt normal suddenly begin to feel wrong. The same routines that once brought comfort now feel empty. The same places that once made you happy start draining your energy. The conversations you used to enjoy now feel shallow and meaningless. At first, this change can be confusing. You might wonder what is happening to you. You may even question yourself, thinking something is wrong. But often, this feeling is actually a powerful sign that God is working within you. Growth rarely feels comfortable. In fact, real growth almost always begins with discomfort. When God begins preparing you for a greater purpose, He starts by changing your heart and your perspective. The life that once satisfied you no longer feels big enough for who you are becoming. It's like trying to fit into clothes you wore years ago. They simply don't fit anymore. Many people experience this when they begin to mature spiritually or emotionally. A person who once chased approval from others suddenly realizes they don't need it anymore. Someone who once tolerated negativity starts feeling a deep resistance to it. The late nights, the empty habits, the environments that once felt exciting suddenly start to feel exhausting. And the truth is, nothing around you may have changed yet, but something powerful inside you has. Think about the story of someone who worked for years in an environment that limited their creativity and growth. At first, they accepted it because it was familiar and safe. But over time, a restless feeling began to grow inside them. Every day felt heavier. Every routine felt more exhausting. That discomfort eventually pushed them to pursue a new path, one that aligned with their real purpose. What once felt like frustration turned out to be the motivation that changed their life. God often uses discomfort as a signal. It's a quiet but powerful way of telling you that you are evolving into the next version of yourself. The danger is that many people misinterpret this feeling. Instead of recognizing it as growth, they try to force themselves back into the old life. They ignore the inner voice telling them they are meant for something greater. But when God begins to stretch your vision, you cannot shrink back into the old version of yourself. That season is over. The old mindset, the old habits, the old environment, they no longer match the person you are becoming. So if you feel that deep, unexplainable discomfort with your old life, don't panic. Don't fight it. Embrace it. Because sometimes the very thing that feels unsettling is actually God preparing you for a life far greater than the one you're leaving behind. There are seasons in life when the silence becomes loud. The phone stops ringing. The invitations disappear. The people who once surrounded you slowly drift away. And suddenly, you find yourself standing in a space that feels unfamiliar alone. In those moments, the loneliness can feel heavy. You may start wondering if you did something wrong. You may question why people are leaving, why relationships are changing, and why the circle around you seems to be shrinking. But what many people don't realize is that sometimes this isolation is not rejection, it's preparation. God often separates people before he elevates them. When your life is surrounded by too many voices, it becomes difficult to hear the one voice that truly matters. Everyone has opinions. Everyone has advice. Everyone has expectations about who you should be and what you should do. But when God is preparing you for something greater, he sometimes removes the noise so you can finally hear his direction clearly. Think about some of the greatest transformations that happen in life. They rarely happen in crowds. They happen in quiet places. They happen during moments of reflection, struggle, and deep personal growth. A person who is constantly surrounded by distractions rarely has the space to truly discover who they are meant to become. Many successful people talk about seasons when they felt completely alone. There are stories of entrepreneurs who spent years working quietly while others doubted them. Leaders who went through long periods where nobody understood their vision. Even ordinary individuals who went through painful breakups or lost friendships, only to later realize that those separations created the space needed for them to grow. Isolation forces you to confront yourself. It forces you to face your fears, your dreams, and your purpose without distraction. It is in these quiet moments that you start building strength that cannot be developed in comfort. And here's the powerful truth: God often works on people privately before he reveals them publicly. The world may only see the moment of success, but they never see the long season of preparation that came before it. They never see the nights of doubt, the silent prayers, the inner battles fought when no one else was around. So if you find yourself in a season where your circle has become smaller, don't automatically assume it's a loss. Sometimes God removes people who cannot go where he is taking you. Sometimes he pulls you away from the crowd so he can shape you into the person you are meant to be. What feels like loneliness today may actually be the sacred space where God is preparing your greatest transformation. There are moments in life when it feels like every direction you turn leads to another challenge. Just when you solve one problem, another one appears. Just when you think things are finally getting easier, something unexpected shakes your stability again. In those moments, it can feel exhausting. You may begin to ask yourself, why does everything feel like a test? But here is a powerful truth many people overlook. When your faith is being tested, it often means your strength is being developed. God does not test you to break you. He tests you to build you. Think about how strength is developed in the physical world. An athlete becomes stronger by lifting heavier weights. A runner becomes faster by pushing past exhaustion. Growth happens when resistance is present. Without resistance, there is no development. The same principle applies to your faith, your character, and your purpose. Imagine a person who dreams of becoming a leader, someone who wants to inspire others and stand strong in difficult moments. If life never challenged them, if everything always went their way, they would never develop the resilience required for that role. When storms arrive, they would collapse because they were never trained to stand in strong winds. Tests create that training. There are countless real-life stories of people who went through seasons where nothing seemed to work. Someone loses their job and struggles financially for months. Another person faces rejection again and again while chasing a dream. A student studies hard but fails an important exam. In those moments, it feels unfair. It feels discouraging. But what many people realize later is that those exact struggles built the determination that eventually led them to success. Faith works the same way. Anyone can believe when life is comfortable. Anyone can feel confident when everything is going smoothly. But true faith is revealed when things fall apart and you still choose to believe that something greater is ahead. Every challenge you face is shaping something inside you. It's building patience when you want immediate answers. It's building courage when fear tries to stop you. It's building perseverance when quitting seems easier. And the truth is, the bigger the purpose ahead of you, the stronger the preparation must be. So when life feels like a series of tests, don't assume you are being pushed down. You might actually be in training. God may be strengthening your spirit, sharpening your mindset, and preparing you for responsibilities and blessings that require a stronger version of you. The test you are facing today may be the very thing that prepares you for the victory waiting tomorrow. There comes a powerful turning point in a person's life when they slowly stop looking to people for every answer and begin looking to God instead. In the beginning, most of us depend heavily on the opinions of others. We ask friends what we should do. We search for approval from family. We worry about what people will think if we make a certain decision. Our confidence rises and falls based on how others respond to us. But when God begins to truly guide your life, something inside you starts to shift. You begin to realize that people, no matter how well-intentioned they are, cannot always see the vision that God has placed inside you. There are moments when you share your dreams with someone and they respond with doubt. They say it's unrealistic. They say it's too risky. They say you should play it safe. And at first, those opinions can shake your confidence. But as your faith grows, you start understanding something deeper. Not everyone is meant to understand the path you're walking. Think about the many people who achieved extraordinary things in life. Almost every one of them faced moments where others didn't believe in their vision. Entrepreneurs were told their ideas would fail. Artists were told their creativity would never succeed. Leaders were told they were not qualified enough. If those individuals had depended entirely on the approval of others, they would have stopped long before reaching their purpose. That is why learning to trust God more than people is such a powerful transformation. When you start praying before making decisions, when you begin seeking spiritual clarity instead of chasing validation, your mindset begins to change. You become less controlled by fear and more guided by faith. You stop needing constant reassurance from everyone around you because your confidence begins to come from a deeper place. This doesn't mean you ignore wisdom or advice, but it means you no longer allow other people's limitations to define your possibilities. You understand that God's vision for your life may not make sense to everyone else, and that's okay. There will be moments when the path ahead looks uncertain and the crowd around you is silent. But when you have learned to trust God fully, you keep moving forward anyway. You take steps even when others hesitate. You believe even when others doubt. And that kind of faith creates an unshakable foundation. Because when God becomes your main source of direction, your life stops being driven by opinions and starts being guided by purpose. There is a kind of peace that makes no logical sense. It doesn't come from having a perfect life. It doesn't come from having all the answers or having every problem solved. In fact, this kind of peace often appears right in the middle of chaos. When everything around you seems uncertain, when the future is unclear, when challenges are still standing in front of you, yet deep inside your heart, you feel calm. That kind of peace is not ordinary. That is the kind of peace that only God can give. Think about the moments when life should have broken you. The situations where the pressure was so heavy that anyone looking from the outside would assume you would collapse. Maybe it was a financial struggle that lasted longer than you expected. Maybe it was a painful betrayal from someone you trusted. Maybe it was a season where nothing seemed to work no matter how hard you tried. On paper, those situations should have filled you with fear and panic. But somehow, despite everything happening around you, something inside you stayed steady. That inner calm is a powerful sign that God is helping you. Real peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of faith in the middle of those problems. It's the quiet confidence that whispers, everything will be okay, even when there is no visible proof yet. It's waking up in the morning with strength to keep moving forward, even though the circumstances have not changed. There are many real-life stories of people who have experienced this. Individuals who faced enormous challenges, serious illness, financial collapse, or devastating personal loss, yet they carried a strange sense of calm through it all. People around them were more worried than they were. Others expected them to break down, but instead they stood firm. believing that somehow God was still working behind the scenes. That kind of peace becomes your anchor during life storms. While the world around you is panicking, you remain grounded. While others are controlled by fear, you continue walking forward with faith. It doesn't mean you never feel sadness or frustration. It simply means that those emotions no longer control your spirit. When God is helping you, He often gives you peace before He gives you the solution. That peace becomes a signal that you are not alone in the battle. It's His way of reminding you that even though you cannot see the entire path yet, He is already guiding every step ahead. And sometimes, that quiet assurance is the strongest proof that your breakthrough is closer than you think.